Hello there and welcome back. Today we're looking at Trevor, episode 17 of season 6. Airing April 11th, 1999, Trevor places Mulder and Scully in the path of a man who can walk right through it. Yes, we have a criminal who can walk through walls, but can he walk through the average Canadian winter? Oh, I think not. The episode begins with a nasty windstorm, but why are these guys trying to board up during it? This is something that should have been done before, no? Also, this is the second time in just a few episodes where we've seen someone boarding up during a storm. Though, to be fair, that was mostly because of a sea monster.
Is that still enough for you?
I mean, what do you think would happen antagonizing a man who's clearly in prison for a reason? Wilson Pinker Rawls, who I'm just going to be calling Pinker because I can't say Rawls, is then basically given the death sentence by being placed in a wooden box during a massive tornado. This has to count as murder on the warden's part though, right? Oh wow, what a shocker. The wooden box couldn't withstand a tornado. Who could have seen that one coming?
Oh my god.
I'm going to assume he was killed with a lightsaber? Because I don't know what else cuts through flesh like this. Why is Scully the only one wearing a mask? Oh my god, David Bowie's in this one? Scully thinks that maybe it was acid that caused this burn, but as someone who has worked with dangerous acids, there's no way an acid did this.
Spontaneous human combustion.
Dear Diary, today my heart leapt when Agent Scully suggested spontaneous human combustion.
If he doesn't propose, I will. This guy, who doesn't seem to have a name, thinks Pinker killed Raybert. But how? He was locked in a box. Mulder does some poking and prodding and discovers this place has a serious termite issue.
I wonder who she is.
She sort of looks like a groupie for Whitesnake. There's no way this could be the same woman now, could it? Although she does act rather suspicious when she learns that Pinker may have died in the tornado. Speaking of Pinker, but it seems like he's got himself a 5-finger discount. Now if only the police would allow him to shop in peace.
Oh, there's something so nice about putting on a brand new pair of socks. I don't know what it is.
I said take those off, boy.
You know, he's not wrong. With the complete collapse of society all around me, at least I know I can always get new socks. Also, with the way this cop says boy, it feels like he's had a lot of experience saying it. Anyway, the cop places Pinker under arrest, but handcuffs are no match for this Houdini. Mulder and Scully arrive on the scene, because if the FBI is going to investigate anything, it's gonna be petty theft. Geez, I never knew Mulder was that strong. Meanwhile, Pinker is ransacking his buddy's place, looking for anything that might point him in the direction of his ex-girlfriend.
You mad cause her and me shacked up? I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, sorry there, bud. Didn't mean to plow your lady while you were locked up in prison. What a friend this guy is. Pinker, on the other hand, though, is barely fazed. He just wants what is his, which sounds vaguely threatening. His friend pulls a gun on him, but when he fires, Pinker barely even flinches. It's almost like the laws of physics mean absolutely nothing to this guy.
In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics!
Mulder and Scully pull up, seeing as how it's Pinker's last known address. You know, just because you're a sleazebag, that doesn't mean you can't clean up once in a while.
Is there any way I can get off my fingers quickly without betraying my cool exterior?
That must have been one hell of a sneeze. Scully thinks this must have something to do with the $90K that Pinker stole, though I think it might have something to do with his friend sleeping with his girl.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Mulder spots the gunshots that pass through Pinker, and now he thinks that Pinker is somehow able to walk through solid objects, and while doing so, changes their composition and makes them very brittle. Now obviously, Scully believes all of this.
No.
And since now they have the name of their mystery woman, June Gerwich, they decide to speak to her sister Jackie and find out just where the hell she is. Speaking of Jackie, Pinker arrives looking for her sister, but something tells me she's not happy to see him.
That's not very friendly, Jackie.
Okay, did the lamp make a breaking sound before it hit the ground, or is it just me? Pinker gets naked for some reason, which only makes this visit even more terrifying. Mulder and Scully show up because these two never sleep, it seems. Can they just barge into someone's home, guns at the ready though? You know, Pinker has very nice handwriting for a naked man.
Where'd he go?
He left.
Okay, we can see that, but where did he go?
Where to?
To Meridian. It's where June Gerwich lives. Or June Burdett, as she's now called.
Oh, way to go, Scully. Why not tell the whole neighborhood where this woman is? Mulder and Scully arrive at June's new life, completely unaware that they have a naked man in their trunk. You know, as bad as it is that Pinker's after this woman, I actually feel more sorry for her boyfriend slash fiancé. This poor guy has no idea his lady's been living a double life.
We live together.
Welp, wedding's off. June then tells a heartwarming story about how Pinker once whacked a guy over the head because he cut him off in traffic, clearly showing Pinker to be a very calm and rational man.
I mean, Pinker was already in prison before I found that money. By accident.
Aw man, don't you just hate it when you stumble into $90,000? She could have turned that money in, but instead used part of it as a down payment on that house. Now what the hell happens to the house? I guess maybe it depends on whose name it's in, but if it's in hers, I'm assuming the bank just gets to take it? Or does her boyfriend Robert get to keep it?
I just wanted another chance.
I mean, you don't need stolen money for a second chance. Anywho, June and Robert are told that they need to be under non-stop watch until this whole thing can be resolved. But Robert, he ain't having it. He tells them that he didn't break any laws, and he's got his own place he can stay at. So I guess that solves who owns the house then, I guess.
Don't discuss this with anyone, Mr. Werther.
Forgetting it ever happened.
Ooh, that's cold. Mulder throws June's bags in the trunk, but hey, where's naked Pinker? Ooh, that's not something I should ever say again. Mulder quickly realizes that Pinker came along for the ride, and now it just seems like he's playing mind games. However, Mulder notices that when writing his new message, Pinker stopped at the mirror.
What if Rawls' ability somehow has to do with electricity? What would preclude it or contain it?
A good insulator, like rubber, like glass.
Okay, so this is where things get messy. If we take Mulder's theory at face value, that Pinker's ability to walk through solid objects has something to do with electricity, and that insulators like glass and rubber can stop him, how the hell does he walk through any wall? Don't most walls have wiring or insulation or PVC piping of some kind? I feel like he'd constantly be getting tripped up or tangled in the wiring. Thanks to our medical doctor Scully, it seems Pinker isn't just looking for his money, but his child. Just months after going to prison, June went to the hospital and had a C-section. So she's not exactly hiding money from Pinker, she's hiding his kid. Well, that's terrifying. Not sure how he found June, but the cops gonna have to give up that promising juggling career. Pinker has a nice conversation with June about his child, his little boy Trevor, and somehow he gets God involved, like it was God that wanted him to know he has a son. I don't think it was God, I just think someone has a big mouth and didn't know when to shut the hell up. Does Pinker think he's going to have a loving father-son relationship when he finds the boy?
And maybe the kid's with a friend or a relative somewhere.
Wait a minute, do you think Pinker's son has been living with Jackie this whole time? Well, that's exactly what's been happening. And it doesn't take long for June to sell out her one and only son. Though, did she have much of a choice? It was either that or her face gets turned into an ashtray like her ex-lover. Although I still don't think I could sell out my kid to some psychopath.
You're a good mother. Better than some I could say.
Well, this is awkward. This poor kid doesn't know what the hell to do. Pinker only makes things more awkward by locking up the kid's mom, who he thinks is his aunt. I feel like he's gonna need a lot of therapy after this. You know, chicken noodle soup runs right through me too. Can I ask how it went through his shirt though? I mean, he can walk through walls, but his clothing can't. Trevor runs off as any terrified child would, and right on cue, Mulder and Scully show up. I don't know what it is, but Mulder with a shotgun is kinda badass. See, I told you his clothing couldn't go through things. Also, when he robbed the store earlier, how did he leave fully dressed and with those shoes? I don't think he walked out the front door. Anyway, the only thing worse than a psycho that can walk through walls is a naked psycho that can walk through walls. Scully takes the boy into a conveniently placed phone booth, which seems to stop Pinker for the time being, though it's no match for this rock. Wow, Pinker is literally shitting bricks. Oh good, Trevor just witnessed his aunt slice this man in half with a car. Scully, maybe you should get the child away from the bisected naked man.
I had to do it. He would have hurt Trevor. What did he want?
Maybe another chance.
Trevor is an alright episode, but that closing line from Mulder has always come off as weird to me. Earlier in the episode, when they first visited June, she said all she wanted was another chance. So is he implying that Pinker also deserved another chance? That he deserved to see his son? Pinker was a violent psychopath who murdered people. Even before that, he seemed to attack people simply for cutting him off in traffic. I don't think he deserved anything. It was always a weird thing for Mulder to say, and I don't know if he's sort of blaming her for not telling Pinker about his son, but that's how it always felt to me. And that feeling only gets compounded when you look at what the episode's director Rob Bowman had to say about it. Pinker is a crazed killer, but not a monster. I think a monster is a guy who kills people without remorse. I mean, in truth, the real villain of the piece is June, an upwardly mobile woman who basically sold out her boyfriend, then gave up her son so she would be more attractive as a single woman. I think she makes an interesting contrast to Pinker, a man who'd do anything to get out of prison and be with his son. This has to be one of the most bizarre things I've ever read from Rob Bowman. Now, I don't have the exact context of where this comes from, and maybe with the context it makes more sense, but nowhere in this episode does June ever feel like the villain. Did she screw up and make some mistakes? Sure, but she's not the one going around and murdering people. Also, she didn't give up her son because she wanted to look like an attractive single woman. She gave up her son to her sister to protect him and hide him from Pinker. And you know what? This actually says a lot about June's sister, Jackie. Taking on the responsibility of raising a child, someone else's child, is not an easy thing to do. But the fact she was willing to give up her freedom in order to protect her nephew and her sister shows just what kind of person she is. To me, it sort of feels like Bowman's perspective seeped into Mulder's final line, and that's why it feels so uncharacteristic of Mulder. The episode's writer, Ken Hawryliw, whose name looks like someone rolled their face across a keyboard, is actually a pretty big name if you're deep into X-Files production trivia. He was the show's Vancouver prop master from 1993 through 1998, which meant he was the guy behind a ton of the show's iconic little details. Mulder and Scully's FBI badges, Mr. Stabby, all that cool stuff. What most people didn't know at the time is that Hawryliw was also a screenwriter. He'd already had a few scripts optioned in Canada before joining the show, but once he started working on the X-Files, he put the writing on pause because the job was already insanely demanding. He figured just being around the show would make him a better writer anyway. The scripts were great, and he was surrounded by very sharp, creative people. When the show moved to Los Angeles in 1998, Hawryliw stayed in Vancouver and jumped over to Millennium's final season. Around that time, he teamed up with Jim Guttridge, a composer and screenwriter he'd met through a friend. Guttridge had written an X-Files spec script and asked Hawryliw to help get it to Chris Carter. Hawryliw read it and thought the premise was solid, but it didn't feel like an X-Files episode just yet. So the two of them made a deal to rewrite it together and submit the script as a team. After a couple of tries and a whole lot of pitching, they eventually landed on what became Trevor. According to Hawryliw, the beautiful idea, Frank Spotnitz's term for the sci-fi hook that every single X-Files episode needs, was the concept of a man who can walk through walls. And of course, the perfect character for that power is a convict, a guy desperate to escape prison. But to really make the story work, they wanted to give him a stronger emotional motivation than just freedom, which is where the son storyline came in. Originally, there was supposed to be some much bigger effect sequences. One had Mulder chasing Pinker through a motel, but they cut it out for budget reasons and to keep the focus more on the emotional side of the story, rather than turning it into a big spectacle. Casting Pinker roles took a while. They read a bunch of actors before landing on John Deal, who you might recognize from Jurassic Park 3, and I'm pretty sure he survives that one. Among the actors who auditioned was John Hawkes. Carter and Spotnitz didn't think he fit Pinker, but they liked him enough that they later wrote the role of Philip Paget, or as I like to call him, Rat Boy, for the episode Milagro. Producer Paul Rabwin then had to figure out how to film a guy walking through walls without blowing out the budget. A mix of clever set design, breakaway walls, camera tricks, and even some Bondo on Mulder's trunk lid did most of the work. There's a fun story where they first tried the shot of Mulder pushing on the wall and knocking out a man-shaped section, but the initial take just left a giant square hole. They didn't want it looking like a Looney Tunes gag either, so they redesigned it to suggest a human figure without going full Bugs Bunny.
What's up, Doc?
June is played by Catherine Dent, who most people probably know from The Shield, and later Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So if your show has S.H.I.E.L.D. in the title, odds are she's showing up at some point. Her sister Jackie is played by Tuesday Knight, who horror fans will recognize as the recast Kristen from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 The Dream Master. And since I know you guys come here specifically for Nightmare on Elm Street trivia, Tuesday Knight also sings the main theme song for the movie. Hawryliw pops up all over the series as little in-jokes. His picture appears in DPO and Pusher, and he even appears on camera in Unusual Suspects as a character named, wait for it, Ken Hawryliw. He's the guy that basically takes the fall for Byers when all he was doing was playing Dig Dug. And as a fun side note, I don't know if this was intentional, but Mitch Pileggi once played an electricity-powered killer named Horace Pinker in the Wes Craven movie Shocker. I'm sure that's only a coincidence though, right guys? Hey! Trevor currently sits at 7.2 on IMDb. I think this episode is fine, and even though it does have some leaps of logic, I'd probably give it a 6, maybe a 7. Up next, things get weird as a creepy rat-looking guy thinks he can win over the heart of my girl Scully. Oh, I don't think so, pal. In the episode Milagro. So what do you think about Trevor? Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great day and stay spooky.
Sunday. His touch can kill you.
What do you make of that?
Spontaneous human combustion.
Scully.
Bullets can't stop him.
He walked right through that prison wall.
And 7 years in jail made him mad as hell. The X-Files, an all-new episode Sunday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.
Huge thanks to all my channel members, you're the real MVPs of the Spooky Squad. Your support helps keep the lights flickering and the monsters fed. If you'd like to join up and help support the channel, check out the join button below. But no pressure, just watching and liking helps a ton too.